I spoke to Ed Bowles earlier this evening, and I began by asking him why was it that after 10 years of education, and a doubling of the education budget, only 44% of 16-year-olds got 5 decent GCSEs.
We've seen a big rise in standards. We put money in, we've reduced class sizes. We've got many more children making the grade, but it's still not good enough, and there's more to do. We want world-class education for all, and we're not there yet, but we'll get there.
Well, you won't be there for some time, though, because Lord Adonis, one of your colleagues, has said that our aim must be that everybody leaving school should have 5 decent GCSEs. At the present rate of progress, that won't happen until 2062.
And we need to go faster. And we need
a lot faster.
But the facts about education in our country were for decades we carried on with many young people not making the grade. Since 1997, there are now 100,000 more children in English getting to the grade at 11. There's 90,000 more in maths. But it's still the case that while 4 and 5 are going into secondary school with the 3 Rs, there's still 1 in 5 who aren't, and that's not good enough. So therefore, the announcements I've made today on every child a reader, every child counts, and every child a writer, personalisation and one-to-one tuition to help them catch up, that's the kind of intensive support you need in order that we can make sure we support every child.
Why is it after 10 years of a Labour government, 27% of boys leave school with only 1 decent GCSE?
Well, those numbers have improved, but
no,
it's
that's
not
the latest
good
figure.
enough. Over 10 years.
27% without a decent GCSE.
I'm agreeing with you. It's not good enough, and we need to do more.
You've doubled the money. You're now spending 60 billion a year. You've been in power for 10 years. Education, education, education. Why do only 20% of
those numbers were much worse before 1997, and we've put money in, and we've delivered an unprecedented increase in standards.
What percentage of boys left school without a GCSE in 1997?
A considerably lower number than that number would be my guess, although I haven't got the facts in my head.
Why do only 20% of kids on free school meals, some of the most vulnerable children, the children, if we're to be an equal opportunity society, we should be helping most, why do only 20% of them leave with 5 decent GCSEs?
Because we continue to have in our society and in our education system a link between education and poverty and disadvantage, which is wrong and needs to be addressed. The fact is, in the last 5 years, children on free school meals have had a faster increase in their standards than average. So the way in which we're trying to focus on improving the lowest performing schools, which tend to be in the poorest areas, is having an impact. But it's still not good enough, because as I said in my speech today, exactly the point you're making, that poverty and inequality in where you live still has an impact upon your educational chances. And I think it's probably that still we have a culture which is not sufficiently aspiration in some parts of our communities and in some parts of our society, and that's what I want to address.
Why, having doubled spending on education in 10 years, why is the average class size in this country 22, which was exactly what it was in 1980?
Well, the average class size in primary schools has fallen very substantially.
But in secondary schools, the average size is still 22. It's what it was in 1980, 27 years ago.
It may be because we have a more intensive approach to setting now in our secondary schools than used to be the case.
Why do a quarter of state school teachers in mathematics, a key subject, have no qualifications in mathematics?
The question is, are they able to teach maths in school? Inspection regime with Ofsted.
You work in education, but you're happy for no qualifications.
There to be more mathematicians and more physicists and more chemists coming in to teach in our schools, and that's what we've been doing at levels and science A levels than was the case before. But I mean, there's more to do, of course.
Why did the number of pupils going to private schools fall during John Major's years and has risen under you?
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, if you're spending so much and trying to do too much, why do more and more people want to send their kids to private schools and not the schools you...
It might be other parents who are losing their jobs in the John Major years.
Given that you've still got so much to do, as you've said, so much to achieve, particularly in education, there's clearly no need for you to go to the country. You've got the mandate to carry on doing all this. Why would you think of going to the country?
Well, at some point we will need to go to the country.
No, but not now. You've got plenty of work to do. You shouldn't be bothering thinking of going to the country at the moment.
But I'm not bothering thinking about the country. I'm bothering about how I can make the standards regulator independent, how I can focus on personalised learning, how I can take an education system I inherited, which had gone from below average to above average, and make it world-class for all.
So you've got a lot to do before you can start asking people to vote for you again, haven't you?
Personally, I've got a lot to do to deliver world-class education for all, and that's what I'm focused on.
So are we going to have an election this autumn?
It's a matter for the Prime Minister, and he's not told me, and I think he's focused on delivering for families in our country. But clearly, when the opinion polls are as strong for us as they are on education, health, the economy, competence, leadership, and when this party is as united as it clearly is here today in Bournemouth, then there's bound to be election speculation, and especially if the Conservative Party looks as divided and as leaderless and as policy-free as they do today.
All right. Well, if he's not told you, he's clearly not made up his mind yet. Ed Bowles, thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Ed Bowles. You can always tell when people are rattled about a political opponent when they start pouring buckets of the brown stuff over them.